Let's start with climate change because emissions reduction was nowhere in this budget. And I think one of the things that's important about, why do we have a budget? What does it mean? What does it say? There's a sense in the budget that it reflects the priorities of the country and so represents an investment in the future of the country. And in that regard, this budget would have to be a failure. There is nothing far-reaching in this budget other than a decade of debt. That's the most far-reaching thing in it, is that there is a decade of debt on the books as far as the government goes. But we have no serious investment in emissions reduction. We have nothing on energy and moving to renewables, nothing on transmission lines, nothing on switching technologies, nothing on a shift to electric vehicles, nothing on transitioning homes away from gas heating and gas cooking, nothing on our manufacturing sector and helping that shift to hydrogen, other than a very paltry $23 million a year over the next decade, which is an absolute pittance in the scheme of things, and a similar amount being spent on carbon capture and storage, which has been a fairy tale now for 40 years and continues to be an excuse to actually extend the life of fossil fuel rather than actually shifting away from those things. There was none of it. There was nothing of vision about net zero economy. There was nothing about decarbonising the Australian economy. There was nothing about taking advantage of our wealth of renewable energies and what we might do with it. Absolutely zero.
And in fact, they just tried to make it easier by investing $215 million over the next 6 years to basically guarantee that it's going to be more affordable to actually use and for every Australian, as opposed to, any sort of move to renewable energy sources or making that something that we should be investing in at all.
Yeah.
And then further, their other big leap of faith, I suppose, was the 116 million in nuclear investment in their energy shift, which, look, nuclear could potentially be something that's actually looked at really interesting in the future, potentially for Australia. STEM and technology, science-based industries could be fantastic.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
for them to use that as their counter to their gas investment strategy, it's insufficient, and it's not looking ahead realistically whatsoever.
And let's not forget, we had $600 million announced yesterday to build a gas-fired power plant in the Hunter at Kurri Kurri, which will be used by their own estimates 2% of the year. So we're going to spend $600 million to build something that everybody says is unnecessary, that their own estimates say will be used for 2% per year, that are actually like generating electricity at a cost that's about 10 times the current average cost per megawatt hour. That's the best estimate of the economics of this new thing, alongside $2 billion to oil refineries to continue working in Australia. Like that's where we're putting our money. Gas-fired power, oil refineries, and hardly anything, if at all, towards any kind of reduction in emissions.
And the real irony is the unreliability of what they basically set up, that they know that it's something that's not going to be reliable or is only going to be used for a small amount of time. But that's always argument about shifting to renewable energy sources. Oh, well, you don't have sun year round.
Sun doesn't shine at night, Rhiannon.
Oh, I know. But that's always the argument against it, and it's exactly what I'm invested in.
What I find interesting about the nuclear argument is that people seem to overlook the fact that we don't actually have a nuclear industry in this country. And I'm not ruling out nuclear as a possible option in the future, as Rhiannon said, but the startup cost of that industry is enormous, because we're going to have to import the expertise, we're going to have to build the industry from the ground up here. And the lead times on all of that run into the decades.
The big thing that we don't have either is actually anything set up for nuclear waste. So that's still the big thing. So even in the small research that we have, and again, ironic that this budget has set up so much about recycling and everything like that, but there's nothing said about actually, nuclear waste or anything like that. But that's the one thing that we ship overseas, because we're not having that in Australia, but then you invest in this and it's actually not set up whatsoever ready for that.